So we went in through page 17 last week. We did the hay. I mentioned to you about the different information about them. For example, the hay in Hebrew is a hay and an aleph at the end. It's not two hays. Okay, so it's a hay and an aleph. The nikud for the letter hay, it's like hey, a, fe, be, re. So it's two dots, correct? All right, so it gets two dots under the hay. The aleph is silent. It's not hey, it's just hey. So the aleph is silent because it has no nikud. Everybody see that? Okay, the red letters, the red words, you will tell me sometimes at the end. Just for curiosity's sake, you could start doing the letters now. Look them up in the back of the book. Here's a dictionary. There's about 8 or 10 pages of dictionary in this book, both Hebrew English and English Hebrew dictionary. They start on page up in the hundreds. The last few pages of the book, I'll just suffice it to say it that way. In page 69 begins the dictionary. Okay, and then we went on to the numeric value, the sound it makes, the word pictures, the names and the meanings of the letter. Each letter has their own. And then it says practice the letters. It shows it to you again in a little bit more normal size. Who can tell me the two letters that the hey is made up from? It's a daled and a little short vav stuck in there. Okay? Hey. Where are you? Where's the hay? Right here. So here's your, well, let's say resh. You know, sometimes it's a dalet, sometimes it's a resh. You make that decision when you look at them. And then the reading practice. You see the nikud on all the hays at the bottom there? Some of them have two letters. So your job is to figure out how do you do the two letters, what they mean. Okay? And then at the very bottom, it gives you some boxes to practice as the box that I made the first time we did this on the board. Okay? Any questions so far? All right. Now, on page 18, the large box at the top has a bunch of letters in it. Those letters, I'm assuming and I'm hoping that by now, part of your homework, if I didn't say it in the beginning, my bad, I should have. Your job really is to every night for 5 minutes just read the alphabet on the back of this, like on the back of the book. Just read them. And subliminally, they'll stick in your mind if you just do 5 minutes a night. Or even if you're in a bathroom. Okay? Just do a little bit. And by now, former classes of mine, by now, on the third lesson, already know their alphabet. I'm positive that there's some of you in here now already know your alphabet, okay? If you don't, know them by next week or the week after, at best. Know your alphabet. Because, why? Here's a piece of homework where you need to know your alphabet. Now, you can flip back and forth and look at them. You just make your attempt for this homework a little longer. But if you know them, that's good. So, on the first line, at the very top, in the big box, right above them, it shows you the kamats. It shows you an example. Kamats is the A in father, so it's father. So kamats makes the ah sound, right? And then you have the patach, to use your example. They're identical. In this class, they're identical sounds. I will give you a little heads up, the difference between kamats and patach. And I won't tell you which one because I don't want you to really know this, but usually people say, well, why are there two? Isn't one ah enough in the language? Okay, one of them is used in ancient Hebrew when they had the ah or aw, like awesome. So the ah in awesome, is that an o or an ah? It's neither. It's in between, isn't it? Awesome. Awesome. The first sound in the word awesome is not O like orange, and it's not ah like father. It's somewhere in between, right? But in the language of today, And even when we read biblical Hebrew, we are reading it today. So why should we sound different if we're here today reading the Bible? We don't need to read it with ancient sounds, with ancient words that we'll never use in modern language. Words like sandwich do not appear anywhere in Scripture, and yet they appear zillions of times in today's language. Because in Israel, they don't say kariach, which is the Hebrew sound, the Hebrew word for sandwich. No one in Israel, no one, did I say no one? No one in Israel says, I'd like a ham and cheese kariach. They don't use that word. It's sandwich, the same as bus, same as taxi, same as telephone. They have their own Hebrew words, but no one in Israel uses them. Question, David.
Yeah. What did they ask for a knish?
If a knish is what you want.
Do they have those in Israel?
Zillions. All kinds. 20 different kinds. Whatever they have here that's in Jewish nature, they have zillions more in Israel. All right. Good question, though. I love knishes. The spinach ones, especially, and the potato ones. Ah. Okay, class is over. We're going to eat. Okay, so the first line. Let's do the first line. Let's do it together. All right? All right. Starting with the Aleph, from right to left. First line, page 18, in a big box at the top. Ready? A, ha, da, va, ga, da, ba, va, and va. Why are the vets and the vavs next to each other? So you can see that they are the same but different. Right? Like my kids used to always tell me, Dad, they're the same but they're different. Well, which one? Well, they're the same but different. Second line. You all do it. I want to hear you. Second line. Go. Good. We don't have to go any further. Let's jump down to 1, 2, 3. The fourth line down. You notice there are 2 letters in each little box, right? So let's do it with me, the first one, then you'll do the other one by yourselves. The first one on the double letters one. Ready? Dad. It's dad.
Okay, now I have a question.
There's no nikud.
Yeah, so
How many responsibilities? I'm already know the question you're asking, so I'm answering it. How many responsibilities in the word dad?
two.
On the first one, on the first letter, there's 2.
Right.
How many responsibilities on the second letter?
One.
Only 1.
Okay, but it doesn't have a nikud, so I thought if it doesn't have a nikud, it's silent.
No, it's not an aleph, it's not a hey, it's not a yud.
Okay, just
The ones that there is no sound, that no sound can come out of your mouth with a hey at the end of a word.
Okay, because it's the end of the word. That's right.
It's at the end of the word. So if you have the word ba, to come, hu ba, he came, hu ba, ba. Ba is spelled how? A bet, a dot, and a hey. Actually, ba is spelled with an aleph, but let's do this. Okay? So there it is. Now, can this be pronounced without a dot since it's in the beginning? How do you pronounce a hey or an H without a nikud? Like the H in Sarah. You can't. It's there, but we don't pronounce it. But if you have a word like what's that?
Bag.
Bag is correct. It's bag because g, a gimel, is not a silent letter. A yud is silent because you can't pronounce a yud without a dot, like in the word be. There's be. It's not be, it's just be because you can't pronounce that. This is bag because a gimel is pronounceable. It doesn't have that second responsibility, but if we give it a second responsibility, now read that word. Correct. Baga, because we gave the gimel its second responsibility sound. First one was g, so it's bug. But here we have a second responsibility. We have bug with the a, so it's not bug, it's baga. Or gu, or gi, or whatever nikud you give it. Is that clear? That's important. It's important. Everybody got that? Okay. Excellent. Okay? So, the first one in the two letters is dad. Correct? How about the next one? Ag is right. How about the next one? Next? Next? Vav is correct. Next? Correct. Next? Good. Next? Vag is correct. Next? Va, silent aleph, and av. You still have to pronounce the vav, the one responsibility. Okay, so that's av. Let's go to the next line. Hab, gad, hag, da, gad, bav, ag, vag, vav, and va. Right? No nikud, no sound. The last line, ag, da, ad, ba, had, ag, bag, va, vag, and hav. By the way, these are all portions of actual biblical words out of the Bible. But you don't have the rest. You only have the first two letters. I'm doing that so that later, when we go to 3 letters, and then 4 letters, and then actual words, you'll start remembering these. Oh yeah, I remember that hav from hava. I remember the ag from agavu. I remember the dag from dagiruim. You'll remember these little agvag bag when you start reading actual words. For practice purpose, I'll share with you, for those of you who are professional students, I'll bring you to that page that you can start practicing. Ah, I just passed it. It is page 57 are actual real words. None of them are super long, but these are the portions that I took some of the words from. So you want to practice some complete words? Have at it. I encourage you to do it. Okay? Even take some of the prayers that are in here and work them, so you can do more of it. Alrighty, so now let's go to, where was we? That's extra. Alrighty, now on page 18, we're done with the top section. Let's go to the bottom section, where you have real words on the side. Everybody with me? Page 18? Is that 16 or 18? No, 18. Okay? My blood sugar is playing havoc on me a little bit, so forgive me if I'm... if you see my book upside down like this, then somebody just yell, hey, your book's upside down, because that just means I'm not seeing real well. Alrighty, the bottom section. On the right side, you see the English words tells us what it is. Father. Okay, well, father is Abba, which I picked a word that I know everybody would know. So everybody knows Abba, correct? So there you have Aleph with the A, the Bet with the A, and the Aleph that's silent. So we have Abba. Okay? So then you have boxes. So your homework is to fill in the box like I did the night that I made lines with squares and filled them in the square totally, so that all your letters sound uniform and the same size. This is a good exercise as homework. So you write Abba, then you leave a blank box, then you go again, and on some lines you may fit 2, on some you'd fit 3, and on some lines you'll only fit 1. Okay? So...
Write the same word over?
Yeah. Yeah.
Space and do it again.
Correct. Put as many words on that one line with the boxes as you can. If you can only fit 1, so be it. Yeah, question.
So
Well, this is an example, like I was talking about last week, where it would seem as if the last aleph is kind of not necessary because if it was
That's none of our business.
oh, I know, but you would still, if it was just these first two consonants, you would still pronounce it the same way. Abba?
Yeah?
Okay.
Of course, it's misspelled. You can write Abba with an aleph and a bet. It would be Abba if you put the A in the aleph and the Ba under the bet. You're right. It does say Abba, but it is misspelled.
Well, that's my next question, because when we write it in English, it's A-B-B-A, almost as if there should be a second bet.
The person that invented English,
Is wrong.
no, it's because the word in English, Abba, is an elongated Ba sound. It's not Abba, it's Abba. So, but in Hebrew, we don't have any words in Hebrew that are two consecutive letters the same.
So it might be more appropriate to write it in English like A-B-A-H or something.
I'm not sure because I don't teach English. I teach Hebrew. So again, let me just say, I know it's not a bad thing that you do. It's just very disruptive. I might have to put you, there's a seat at the end of the parking lot. We can give you a telephone and, listen, I'm only kidding. It's good what you do. It's good and I encourage you, keep doing it. Don't stop just because I'm a wise guy. Okay, it's good to ask questions. It is good to ask questions. The only stupid questions are those that you don't ask. But to make your point and to make my point, okay? And I'll always keep saying it until, even when everybody already got it, I'm still going to say it. This class is about recognizing the letters so that you can read the words that they choose to tell you how to read. We're not making choices on how to write. That's not what this class is about. I'm not sure I'll ever have a class on how to spell in Hebrew. Because Hebrew, you'll be doing more reading in your life than you do writing. So it's more important to recognize and see what you see so that you can get it out of your mouth the correct way. And these are the words they give us. This is how you do Abba. Ba with a silent aleph on the end. We're not in charge. We didn't invent it. Our job is to learn how to read them. But they're very good points that you make, and I want you to keep doing it. I just want to be clear that the class is about how to read, not about how to decide, do we need two B's or one B when we begin to spell? Because I can remove and dispel your thinking. There are never two letters in one word in Hebrew. Let me not say that. I've never seen one. Okay? So that made the point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then here we have the next line. We have dad. Dad is Abba without the aleph. But the word there is Av. Two responsibilities on the A and one responsibility on a V. Now, if we put another patach or kamatz under the vet, and even though there is no such a letter as a vet, I'm saying vet, so we just, in this class, so we know what that means. A vet is not a vet. It's a bet without a dot. Okay? The name of the letter is bet, even though it has no dot. So on this bet without a dot, we only have one responsibility, and that's to make the sound. So the word there is av, which means dad. The next word is what? Gav. Gav means back. There's a gimel with the a sound and the vet, correct? Next is what? Dog. Dog is a fish. So you write dog, daled gimel, skip a square space, do another dog. So you got three of them there. Then the next one is he. Okay? Do you see in the word he, there are two silent letters. You could write, to make your point, sir, here's a great way that I'm using your idea, if you don't mind, okay? It's not copyrighted or anything, is it? Okay. So here's the word he. So we know how it's spelled in the book, but here's your point. Why not just spell it like that? That does say he. Except this does not read he. This just sounds he. because there's no such a word with the hey and a dot under it. It is totally misspelled. You have to put the correct spelling, which is he, like that. But by itself, that's still he. You're absolutely right.
You know, I think you could compare that in the English language to, you can spell me, Knee, or you could say the same thing, Nee, but you wouldn't read it as a knee. If it was in a sentence, you wouldn't know what Nee is, if you want to call it your kneecap.
Correct. Good point.
Okay.
Good point. And again, we really are not talking about silent letters. We're talking about spelling and reading what is already spelled for us. We're not trying to learn spelling. We're trying to read whatever they spelled for us. Basically, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Question?
Yes.
In Hebrew?
No. The Vav is she, not he.
But she in Hebrew means he. It's read he.
Oh, okay. See, now I've learned something.
That's why you're here. That's why I tell you in English what the Hebrew reads. Yes, in Hebrew the word he means in English she. You're right. That's why I have in English she. Got it?
Mercy Muku.
Okay, now you want to really be confused? When you say who in English, what does that mean?
Who are we talking about?
Right, but the word in Hebrew, the word who in Hebrew means him. He. The word he in Hebrew, you say who. So, he told me, in Hebrew you say, hu amar li.
Whom among
Who, him, he, who, amar, said to me, li.
Who, Bala.
Yeah, la la baba. That's it, you got it.
I think it was two Hebrew guys that wrote that out of the Stella routine.
Okay, all right, you getting it? All right, that's the homework on page 18 at the bottom, and actually on page 17 at the bottom as well. Now, these homeworks should take you about 3 minutes on each little segment. If you're spending more than 10 minutes every other day, you're doing good, and you will definitely read quicker than slower. All right? I'm turning to any questions so far on page 18. Any questions? I'm going to keep going. All righty, let's go to page 19, extra writing practice. There's Aleph, Bet, Vet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. There are the boxes. Practice those letters, and practice even further on the blank space at the bottom that says notes, unless you want to write me a note. Okay, let's get going on segment 3. So today we're on task for 3. And we're doing good because we're about 8 minutes quicker. So at the top of page 20, section 3, are the next 6 letters of the alphabet. I'm not going to draw lines with squares because we already know what we're trying to accomplish with the lines and squares. So we'll do the accomplishment of it without the lines and squares. And I'm still waiting on someone to invent a board that when you speak to it, it becomes blank. So we don't have to do this physicality here. Because, wow. Thank you so much for cleaning my board.
It does already exist, it's just very expensive.
It is?
Yeah.
Money's no object. I work for a university, man. My university,
Come on.
they can handle everything.
Yeah.
Correct? We'll pray about it. God will do it for us. He wants us to learn this. I know that for sure. I dream about it all the time. All right. Nice clean board? It'll do. It'll do. All right. So the next letters are Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, and Kaf or Chaf, meaning the consideration of the dot. Okay? Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, and Kaf, Chaf. Okay, then we'll talk about the other variations, like kaf sofit, chaf sofit, with the vowels, without the vowels, and all that. It's coming right now. So the next letter of the Hebrew that we're starting with today would be vav. A vav, I'll do them in red so that you'll see immediately, not confused with this. Here's the vav, so you can see the position in the alphabet where it's at. The vav is right next to another that kind of looks like a vav, which is a zayin. The difference being that the vav is a very tiny top and the full length bottom. Okay? Different from the zayin, meaning that the zayin is on an angle and then has a little curvature. Here are two things. The very top and the line that goes down are connected with a corner. So making it large, I'll make it large. Here it is, very large. You see here, they're connected. You throw me off. You throw me off. See, they're connected. The zayin, very large. I'll do the zayin over here, very large. It comes from the center of the top. However, this section right here, that is the same length as this. It's just that the stem comes down from the center rather than from the corner. That's the difference between the vav and the zayin. Okay? So there's our vav. Next is our zayin. Okay? Next is chet. Chet has a kotz on the top left. Normal size, total box, the whole box, and it has a little kotz over here. See it? That's real tiny, and you can miss it, so look for them. Let them hit you in the face when you read. Vav, zayin, chet. Next is tet. Tet is the upside down U, or an upside down chet. And the tet is the only letter that has a kotz into itself rather than out somewhere. So a tet has a kotz inside its body. Okay? Here it's its position right here, tet. Next is a jot. And there it is, yud, smallest letter, but the most important. Okay, yud. Then the next is kaf. And it's the last letter of today. There's your kaf. And without the dot, there is your chaf. Now, the variations that are involved are that the kaf, chaf, at the end of a word does not have a floor, but rather its longer side. So there it is. If you need nikud or a dagesh, this is right now the way it's written. And I know this black that I can't get off here. I'll redo it next to it again. So there's your chaf. Okay? And it could be a kaf sofit. Most times a chaf sofit is a chaf, not a kaf. But occasionally there is a kaf. There is one prayer in Hebrew that confuses newcomers because within the same scripture, within the same prayer, you have a kaf and a chaf. One time in the scripture it says kamocha, and then another time it says kamoka. In the same scripture. And you hear it on Friday nights. I'll point it out to you next time. So, if you need to make it a kaf sofit, what do? You give it a kaf. You put a dagesh in it. Like you do in a bet or a pay or any other that requires a dagesh.
Does it make it a different word when you say it? A different meaning?
It could. Yeah, it could. Okay, so if you need to make it a kaf sofit rather than a chaf sofit. If it needs nikud, the nikud goes right here. And nikud could be any nikud on the kaf, and it could be any nikud on the chaf. If it's a kaf sofit or a chaf sofit, you indicate it so by the dot and the nikud. Same as any other letter, because why? It is the same letter. It only looks a little different, but it's still called kaf, or pronounced chaf. Got it? Those are the letters of today. Okay, so we're still on page 20, and there are your letters Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, and Kaf or Chaf. The X, I'm below it, where it says vowel, below the big box on section 3, page 20. The X in this book only means pick a letter. It could be any letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So here are some 3 examples with the X, and I'm going to choose a bet for my X letter, okay? So these 3 examples are B, or B, or B. And here are the 3 examples on how to write the E sound. With the Yud only, or with the Yud and the Chirik. In some writings, you'll hear the word Chirik instead of Chirik. But they're identical. Most likely, most times you'll hear Chirik, but occasionally you'll hear some teachers, depending on how old they are, they'll say Chirik, but it's the same thing, just a different pronunciation. It has to do with your European Ashkenazis speaking Hebrew versus the Sephardi or Arabs. And then you have 2 other dialects, which are the Ethiopians and the Yemenites. Just as a point of information, the Ethiopians and Yemenites and Europeans and Ashkenazis who live in Israel, the Ethiopians speak the most pure Hebrew. They speak it identical today as they spoke it in Abraham's days. They still speak that Hebrew. That's how they handed it down from father to son. They wanted to keep it very pure. Most Ethiopians are Essenes in their religiosity of Jewishness. The Essenes were the most exacting. They went exactly by what the law said, exactly by what the instructions were, exactly like their rabbis told them. They read it exactly how it was handed down. The Ethiopians, as I said, speak the most pure and most perfect language. The Ethiopians speak a more exacting and pretty language, prettier than Israelis born in Israel that know no other language except Hebrew. Ethiopians speak the most pure, prettiest, most exacting language. Next are the Yemenites. Not as pure as the Ethiopians, because Yemenites allowed the outside world to kick in, and so it was, though it was teaching from father to son, they gave in to society at large. And if Israel said, no, that's the old way, now we do it this way, the Ammonites said, yeah, okay, well, we live here now, we'll do it your way. The Ethiopians, we do it this way. You don't like it, kick us out. Okay, so there are the 3 E sounds in the center of the page, 20. Now, the next, any questions? Okay, the next segment is very, 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 did I say very?
Very.
Very important. It's the lookalikes. This is what the stumbling block of most newcomers to reading Hebrew. Okay? And it's self-evident if you look at it. What is this lesson about? This lesson is about recognizing the difference between the very lookalike letters. Some you would look at and say, oh, that's not really very lookalike. Great. That's great for you if that's how you feel. And there's an advantage. Because some of us will say, no, what do you mean? Where? I don't see it. Where? What? Where someone else would say, oh, it's very clear. For example, from the right to left, the Yud and the Zayin. Okay? At very first glance, if you've never seen Hebrew before, these 2 will look alike. But because we already have tons of experience since we started our Hebrew class, right? Did I say right? Did I hear right?
Right.
Right, thank you. You all passed. Okay? So the Yud and the Zayin, to us here today, they're not that much look-alike, but I can see why someone would say that they are look-alike. But look further, the Vav, then the Dalet. Do you see the quotes on the top right of the Dalet? Doesn't really look like a kutz, but there is like a little fat indentation on the right side. That is a kutz. Okay? Then look further, the two letters, kaf and bet. Well, those are the names of the letters. We know they're pronounced chaf and vet, but the names of these letters are the kaf and the bet. You see how different they are? The kaf is connected as one line, the ceiling, the back, and the bottom. It's one circular line, kind of. Not so with the bet. The bet, you see a resh on top of a straight line, correct? You all see a resh in the bet? Okay, so that's the difference. They're connected, it's one line, and the bet is actually, you have to lift up the pen to write a bet, and then place it back down on the paper. It's not continuous. You can't write a bet continuous. A kaf is, look here, look up here for a minute. Here's a kaf. Notice how it's continuous? Right?
Yeah.
There's your kaf. You can't do that with a bet. You must lift up your pen right here, because here it's a line. See the point that I'm making? No pun intended, the cuts, the point? Okay. Then, of course, we see the other variation of the kaf and the bet, which are the dots. Okay? So there's a kaf bet, and the others were a kaf vet. Then you see the hey and the chet. If you notice, the hey is actually a dalid and a little partial line coming down, correct?
Right.
And then look at the chet. Look at the portion of the chet that looks like the dalid on the hay. Identical! So it's a dalid that you make a hay from, and it's a dalid that you make a chet from. Clear? Everybody see it? Okay. The next two bullets show that the sound of the vav is the identical sound of the bet without a dot, meaning v, right? Vav and vet. And the same with the chaf and chet. Now, I always get asked, why does Hebrew need two of the same sound? The answer to that is so lengthy that it would cost you $12,000 for those lessons. Because we'll be here for 2 years doing those lessons to explain the actual difference and why there are two sounds. It has to do with numeric value that was instructed to the scribes. Because Hebrew words, as far as the rabbinicals, the rabbinic meanings behind the Hebraic sounds and letters and writing in general, is that there's a lot of historical nuances within the letters. That's why there are myriads of volumes of books written about every letter. They each have different history, different meanings, different connotations. Just so much history behind the letters. Remember, it's 5,000-year history to these letters. A lot of it has to do with why use a chaf versus the with a chet. Rabbis don't even know. I tell you who would know. If you find someone that teaches Kabbalah, and it's not Kabbalah, it's in Hebrew it's Kabbalah, which means a tombstone. A Kabbalah is the big granite tombstone. That's a Kabbalah. It's another word for, it has nothing to do with Kabbalah in English, Kabbalah in English. But if you find a person who teaches Kabbalah, who's been teaching it, they can tell you the numeric and historical values of Hebrew letters. I don't profess to be a professional in Kabbalah, so I don't do it. You know what I could use? A napkin or a tissue. Someone have a napkin or a tissue? Okay. Thank you. All right. Any questions on this page with the lookalikes? Then we continue on. Thank you. Thank you. To continue to page 21. Echad. Page 20. Okay. Now again, we're not going to do it on the board with the lines and the boxes. I think in this case, in this class, we're all adult enough to emulate and pretend that we have lines and boxes. So here on page 21 we have the vav. The way you spell vav in Hebrew is two vavs, one with the ah sound, patach or kamatz, whatever you see when you read, and the other one is not silent, but only has one responsibility, and that's to make the sound of the letter. So we have vav, no sound other than the v for the second vav. That's how you spell vav. The red letters and words, it's up to you. The numeric value of the vav is it's the 6th position. The sound of it is V. The word picture is 10th peg. And you can see it, it's obvious. It looks like a 10th peg. Names and meanings are to add, secure, or hook. Why does it mean to add? Because in the world of suffixes and prefixes of Hebrew, Hebrew does not have the word and. You know, an apple and a tomato. I have on the table a apple and a tomato. We don't have the word and. We add a vav to the word that you want to place behind the word and by adding the vav, it makes it and this word. Here is an example. Example is, I was going to do red. Where's my red? Here's my red. Okay, the example is this. I think it's orange, but it'll do. Let's say house. Okay, so here's house. No, there's no house, so we'll go to blue. Here's house. Ba Yit. Can somebody tell me what's missing here if I'm going to write ba Yit? Because you cannot read this word as it is. Anybody know why? Because if the yud is silent, then this word would be bat. But there is a yud there. What is our two responsibility syndrome? We can't have no responsibility because yud is a letter that is sometimes silent. But in this case, it cannot be silent. Because you're saying but there are two more things here, so they must be sounded.
You put a sharik underneath the top.
Thank you. Exactly correct. Now, it is not a silent yud. We pronounce it yi. So it's ba, yi, t. Here, there's only one responsibility. Two here and two here. So that's why this yud is not a vowel in this case. Yud is sometimes a vowel and is sometimes silent. Not in this case. So we have ba, yit. But we're talking about making it and house. And bayit. The way you do and is add a vav and a shva. Why a shva? Because it's not ve bayit. It's not vei bayit. It is vebayit. Real short. Vebayit. Vebayit means and house. In Hebrew, we don't have the word and. We just add a vav to whatever you want to add to what you're writing. Okay? So that's your... There is a whole lesson on this, a whole hour lesson further down, but I like to take opportunities. So there's the explanation of va. Okay? The same as, let's look at the top of page 21, below the second red word from the top. You see it? Anybody want to make an attempt to read that word in red? It's the second one from the right. Why? Why are you going high? Is there a kamatz or patach under the hay?
No. E.
Okay, so how do we read that second? Read. Sound out each letter with the two responsibilities. Okay, va is, we're done. Next. Not ya. It's one of the A's. It's, okay, good. You got that. That's correct. Va, yeah.
He,
That's the word.
and then the yud is silent.
Correct.
Okay.
The yud is the E as in the three examples just one page ago. The dot, the yud, or the dot and the yud. All three are the he sound. The dot itself, the yud itself, or the yud and the dot. Here it's one of them. It's just the yud. So we have vayhi. The word is vayhi. That's how short that Shiva is. It's not vayehi. It is not vayehi. It's vayhi. That's how short that yet is. You get it? Vayhi. Okay. The word yehi by itself is will be. But here vayhi is and will be. Okay? So there's an example of the vet. All those words are actually examples. Look at the first red one. The word is yedu. Okay? For someone, in Hebrew, yedu is to confess. But, and to confess, it's vi yedu. Meaning in plural, not in singular. So whether it's singular or plural or past tense or however, the vav is the end of Hebrew. Okay. All right, where were we? 10th peg, and then we have add. Va is to add, and it also is and. Then we have to secure in the hook and 10th peg. Yeah, it looks like a 10th peg, the vav. Okay, it's a V sound. Then the very bottom, where all the letters are, in three rows, you see it? Va, ve, vet, vo, and vo. Second line, vi, vu, ve, vi, vet, and va. You see that? The last one, ve, vu, vet, va, vo, vi, and va. You do the rest in these boxes. Okay, any questions on page 21? Next we go to Zayin. Any questions? Zayin, same thing. The word Zayin is a Zayin, a Yud with a Chirik, and a Nun Sofi. Zayin, right? Does not need Nikud if it's at the end of the word. Zayin is in kind of two syllables, Za, and then Yin. It's not Zain, it's Za-Yin. Numeric value 7. Sound of it is a Z like zebra. The word picture is a merak. Names and meanings are food, to cut, to nourish, or a weapon, to sustain, crown, and species. And there are a few hundred more, but I only chose the first few that I could write real fast. Practice reading, we have za, ze, zet, zo, and zo, etc., etc. At the bottom you have the line. I'm cutting them because there's no need to go over some redundancy, but you know what's going on. On page 23 we have the chet, which is a daled and a vav together, making a chet. It's pronounced chet, with the A, Fe, Be, Tse, Re. See it? Chet. There you have the three words, Chodesh, Chalav, Chag, and Cheshvan. Okay, those are the reds, I gave them to you. Numeric value 8 in the progression of the alphabet. The sound is CH as in the musician Johann Sebastian Bach. I'm hoping you all do the homework after dinner every night, don't you? You doing that dinner?
German, right?
You doing it? Okay. There is no CH sound in Hebrew. You will not find any word that sounds like church, or to choose, or to chew, or choice, or, chung woo. There is no CH sound in Hebrew. When you see CH, it is as in the Germanic or Portuguese Achtung, okay, like in German. Okay, so remember that the CH in Hebrew is it's not ch like church. Okay? Alright, numeric value 8, sound as in Bach. Word pictures, tent or wall. Names and meanings are outside, divide, half, fear, and life. I'll now tell them to you. Outside is chutza. That's chutza out there. It's out. Chutza. So obviously chutza starts with a chet. So one of the meanings of chet is outside. The next one said divide. Chetzi. The word chetzi means half. In Israel there's a phrase. People say, how are you doing today? They'll go, chetzi, chetzi. It's like, comme ci, comme ça. Like, half and half. How are you feeling? Half and half. Chetzi, chetzi.
So.
Okay? The next one they give you there, half. Fear. Fear in Hebrew is, it'll come to me. I don't want to take time right now. Then life is chai. Chai is life. So there's ch. Okay? Fear is chashuv, choshev. It'll come to me and I'll tell it to you. I don't know why I'm not getting it right now. Anyway, so it's a raspy K, Okay, the 3 lines, cha, che, chet, cho, and cho. Second line, chi, chu, che, chi, cha, and cho. Then we have che, cha, chi, cha, che, cho, and chu. Bottom line, you fill them in, make them look pretty. The next letter is tet. If there are no questions, I'll keep going. Tet is a tet, a yud, and a taf. Spelled out tet. Numeric value 9. Sound T like Tom. Word pictures, basket. Names and meanings. Surround, contain, below, bed, inclination, and staff or snake. I don't know how they got staff or snake, but it's a definite biblical connotation there.
Should be crocodile, right?
Well, if it said tanin, it would be crocodile. And tanin is spelled with a tet, so. All right, so then we have the sounds, ta, te, tet, to, and then etc., etc. And at the bottom, you see the cuts coming in to itself on the right stem. A tet can be made with a circular bottom, like a U. It can be straight at the bottom, like I do, like up here. Here's my tet. But if you like it this way, it's acceptable. That's a tet as well. The same as in a mem. You have a mem, I do this way, but a mem this way is acceptable. Are they similar? Yes, they are. So you choose your style. But I encourage you, first, learn the way I have them here. The way you have them in that diagram in your book, under the column that says hand, I did those by hand. I encourage you to do them by hand as well. So there's the tet. Okay? Next is the yud, and it is pronounced yud. You will see sometimes people call it yod, but it's too confusing with yad, which means hand. Yud has nothing to do with hand, so I encourage you to say yud. Okay? Numeric value is 10. Sound is Y, like in an English Y. Word picture is arm and closed hand. Names and meanings are work, to throw, to worship, to trust. And then the practice is ya, yay, yet, yo. Then you have ye, you, yay, ye, ya, and yet. The bottom, there is your boxes. And below the boxes, the final forms of the kaf. You see the kaf and kaf sofit with the dots. And next to it you see the chaf and chaf sofit with the dots. Notice that the chaf sofits look like a daled that's elongated below the line. What I mean below the line is, that's the indicator that it's a final form. Here is not a final form kaf, and here is the final form kaf when it's a kaf sofit, below the line. Now I exaggerate a little bit. Sometimes it's just touching the line. That's a sofit, if the other letters don't quite touch the line. So it depends on where you're reading it. Okay? So there we are for the yud and the kaf. On page 26, we have the kaf. You spell it with a kaf and a fei, sofi, no dot in the fei. Numeric value is 20. The sound is chaf or kaf, as in kitty or Bach, the composer. Word pictures, names and meanings, open hand, allow, tame, clouds, power, in supposers. Okay, practice. The practice, you have a kaf and a chaf on the same page. It's doubled up. It's self-explanatory. You know what to do. Any questions on kaf? If not, then let's go to the practicing of the letters we've learned thus far. And the practice on page 27, the first line at the top I will do. Follow with me. You can be verbal about it if you want to. It's good to hear. If not, it's okay too, and then we'll do the rest together. Then we'll go to the double letters near the bottom. So the first line is chi, ta, yi, cha, ka, za, ya, cha, ti, ya. Everybody see it as I was saying it? Is it getting familiar? Excellent. Next line together. Yi, ha, ti, da, yi, ga, cha, ti, chi, ki. Next line. Ti, zi, cha, yi, za, cha, zi, ya, ti. Okay, now we come to where some of these are double letters. So let's go. The first one is chi, da, ga. Okay, here we have our first two-letter word, and both the first letters have sounds. Both have two responsibilities. Unlike the rest double letters, that one has a responsibility 2 times, and one only has one responsibility. Here, both have responsibility. So we have da, ga. The next one is gav. Only one. Next one is ti. Next one is hav. Next one, what's the letter? Okay, gaba. See it? Next one, cha. No, ka. It has a dot. Next one, da-i is correct. Whoever said it, da-i. Next one, ba-vi. And the next one, bi-ha is correct. Are you seeing what you're hearing? Okay, next line. Just do it with a guts feeling. Just do it all. Don't think about it. Just go bam bam and then think about it if you made a mistake or not. Okay? Okay, the first one on the line before last at the bottom is va-bi. You all see va-bi?
Okay, the next one.
See it? Va, And next is B. Okay, what's the next one? T da. Next one, cha bi. Next one, za ya. Next one, chi va. Next one, yi ta. Next, I ta. Next one, cha. It's a trick. That's it. Cha. The hey is silent. Next one, chi. I'm sorry. Chi cha. Chi cha. Right? No dot. Next one, T. Bingo. T. All right. Next one, hag. Then he, a. Next one, vad. Right? Vad. Nothing else on the dalet. Next one is va, a. Then you have beeb. You see why it's beeb? Right?
Yes.
It's a bet with nothing below, so we just make the one responsibility. Beeb. Next one, ha, da. Next, ga, silent aleph. Next, he, va. Next, di, da. And next, va, va. Correct? Alrighty. You see the words on the side? Okay. The first one in English says aviv. Spring. Aviv. Do you see aviv there? You see the a and then v. The yod is silent, and the last gets one responsibility, which is to pronounce the sound of the letter, which is v. So we have aviv. Next is uncle. How do you read uncle in Hebrew? There's no OW sound, so what is this? Dod, not dode. We don't have dode. There's no OW sound. It's O. So it's dod. So Bob Hope's name in Hebrew is Bob Hope, not Bob Hope. It's Bob Hope. That's how Hebrew is. Okay, what about ant? If uncle is dod, what about ant? Correct. Dod is uncle, doda is ant. Okay, next for life, how do you read? Chai. 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 Because the yud is a yi. Yud. Chai. Next for star. Has a dot. Ko-chav is correct. Does everybody see ko-chav? Somebody not see ko-chav? All right. And the last at the bottom? Not yet. Okay. I'm listening. What are the three dots sound?
The three dots is a saga.
No, it's not saga. It's se-gol. It's as an apple. Look at your first page that has the, this is the page to look, where's the depth? See here? As an apple, there it is. So that's a se-gol. So this is a cha-ze, apple, zapple, ze. Three dots is a. So a under a zayin is a ze. Ze, not za. Chaze.
And
The hey is silent. Chaze. Any other questions? Everybody see as we were reading? Your eyes actually seeing it? If you start seeing and your brain is saying, yeah, I got it, then you're right. You got it. All right. Okay, this is important. Any more questions so far? All right, we're going on then. I'm on page 28. Memory drills. There are four exercises here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one, write the first 11 letters of Hebrew alphabet in English. So here's what I want you to do. The first 11 letters, you write Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Da, Led, Hey, Vav, etc. English. The first 11 Hebrew letters, I want to hear you tell me the Hebrew letters in English. Exercise is the second one below it. Write the first 11 letters of the alphabet in Hebrew. Each box. Okay? And that's easy because you don't have to spell them out like we just read. You just do this. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled, Hey, etc. That's the exercise on that. You with me? The third one. Look at the Hebrew letters with the vowels. Write in English the sound that these make. Let's do the first one. First of all, can someone read to me that first word? Why are you going Eva? There's no nothing below that first vowel. So, what is the vowel that's connected to that middle letter Vav? Doesn't have it. It does. What is a Vav with a dot? It's not a vowel. It's a vowel. That was 2 lessons ago. I'm on page 28. On the third exercise. We just did the one where you put them in H.
Starting from the right, right?
And I'm on the first word on the third exercise. It's an aleph and 2 vavs.
Okay.
So let's read that word.
Evo.
Almost correct. Ivu is correct. The dot inside a vav takes it away from being a letter. It is now become a vowel. And it's the U sound. How do we know? Because if it was the O sound, the dot would be where? Over the vav. Remember that little trick I gave y'all? The dot over the vav makes it the O vowel. The dot inside the vav makes it the U vowel. What if there were no dots in the vav? Then it is a vav. The minute you put dots in it or over it, it takes it away from being a letter and it's become a vowel. So here we have the what sound vowel? The U sound. Who does that U sound belong to in the word Ivu? It's the U sound for the first vowel. Watch the board. Look here. E, what? Vevi, vavovu. It has the U vowel here. So this becomes one entity. And the sound here is E, vu. This U belongs to this vav. This is a letter vav. This is the vowel U. It's no longer a vav. We took it away from being a vav. We gave it a dot. That dot inside makes it the U sound. Look at page, where are your vowel page? The vowel page. First what, page 7? Okay. You got it? Ivu. So what is this exercise? Okay, look at these Hebrew letters with the vowels. Here are the Hebrew letters with the vowels. Write in English the sound that these vowels make. So here, you put in English, you put Ivu. What is Ivu in English? I would do it. There's no one way to do it. There's more than one way when we're talking about writing something in English. But this is the way I would write in English the Hebrew word Ivu. I would go like this. To be really clear, so the teacher would like me a lot. Ivu. Does somebody read this word to me?
Ivu.
That is what I want on that line. You put Ivu any way at all that you want to write it in English, and my mouth reads Ivu, then I know you did the Hebrew correct. How about the second one?
Hey,
Hey, bingo is correct. How about the third one?
goo,
Go.
Why did you say goo if just now we spent 20 minutes on the dot inside the vav making an u, an usa? You go to the back of the class. All right, so you got it? You were on the right track. That's a good thing. You're absolutely right. It's go.
Go.
Since there's no O-W, it is not go. It is go.
Go.
Okay, and the last one? Bita is correct. You are going to do the rest. The bottom section, write in Hebrew the sounds the English word is making. Use the Hebrew letters that you have learned and all the vowels. Remember, Hebrew is read from...
Right to left.
Okay, let's take the first one on the top right of this exercise. You have a B-O-Z-O. What is that in English? In English, it's bozo, right? Well, in English, it's bozo, but in Hebrew, it is bozo. It's not bozo like in English. It's bozo, just like the letters are, okay? So how would you write that in, you have to write it in Hebrew. So there are probably 5 or 6 ways to write bozo in Hebrew. So I will do as many as I know. Here we are, right here. Here's bozo. Here's bo. Zo. You see it? Here's the cholam without a vav. Here's one way. Here's the second way. Bo. Zo. Here's a cholam with vav for the o. And for the zayin, for the zo, I chose just the cholam. They're still o, right? Look at your vowel thing. You see an o is either a dot, which is a cholam, or a dot on top of a vav. It immediately makes that vav not be a vav. It's a vowel. Okay? Next is the opposite. A dot, and then the zayin and the vav. That's also bozo. Right? Can anybody think of any other way to do 2 O's in one word? Bozo. If you can't, have at it, but that's what this exercise requires. Find a way, and then I will see if you're correct.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The T, the English T has 2 different, at the very end of the bottom of page 6, and also the tet is also T as in tall. And they
Correct.
both are T as in tall.
Correct. In
So-
Hebrew, there are 2 ways to do the sound T.
Okay.
In
Okay.
Hebrew, there are 2 ways to make every sound, or more. As
But
in
they
the,
both look very different.
yeah, they are very different. How about the ch sound? You have one chet, and one is a chaf. They
Yeah.
don't even look alike,
Right.
but the sounds are identical.
Okay.
Chet, chaf.
Okay.
How about V sound? A bet without a vav is V,
Yeah.
and a vav without anything or with anything is a V. They don't even look alike, and yet their sound identical.
Okay.
Did that answer?
I think so.
Okay, so you're right. The T is the sound that both Taf and Tet make. Correct.
Okay.
Good question. All right. Any other questions on this or any other? So we're done on, clear on page 28? On your 4 exercises? These are very much fun. Don't do them all at one time. Do 2 and then wait a day and do the other 2. Let's go to 29. You got extra writing practice for the Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Chaf, and then the Kaf Sofit and the Chaf Sofit, and a place for some notes and practices. Okay? And with this, we are almost near the end. Section 4 will begin next week. So for now, let's take a measurement of how much do we know already. I love doing this because that's how you yourselves measure it as well. Do you remember that page with all the words we saw before, all the completed words? If somebody finds it, I like to sometimes jump way ahead 3-4 lessons just to take like a measurement of what did we do in the first 2 or 3 lessons. It's a great barometer of how each of us are doing. Okay, anybody find that one? It was up in the 64, 54 area. I wanted to go there and just throw it out and see how we're doing. 5-7 is correct. Line 1. Okay, line 1, word 1. Anybody want to take a stab at it? Okay, let's sound out the first letter on line 1, first word. Anybody know the first letter? Okay, what does it have below it? You know, okay, is it a mem with a patach or kamatz or something, right? Okay, so what is that sound? Ma. Ma is correct. What's the next letter? It's a lamed. What is the sound under the lamed? What is it? It's air like apple. 3 dots are air like apple. So we have ma, le. What is the last letter? Okay, it's a sofit. What letter sofit is it? How about chaf sofit? So we have a ma, we have a le, and a chaf sofit. Let's put it together. What is that word? Ma. Wait. Why la? La. Le as an apple. Okay, so the word here is malech. Okay, you got it? So there's word 1, a Hebrew word that you just read, malech. The next word is, what do we have? The first letter is what? It's a chet. Until you know them all, I'll just tell them to you. Eventually, in a couple of more lessons, most people here will know the alphabet. So for now, I'll tell them. So the first letter is a chet. What's under the chet? It's a tzedei. What sound does a tzedei make? A. So we have with the A, it's chay. And what's the next letter? It is a sofit letter. It's a nun sofit. So the word here is? Chen is correct. Chen. A-F-B-G. Chen. Chen. Okay? Chen is favor. The Lord's favor on you is Chen HaElohim. Chesed, a different word, not here. I'm just adding it. Chesed is grace. Chen is favor. The reason I'm teaching Hebrew now after 30 some odd years is because of this word. When a pastor came to me and said, I want to know the exact word that's used, and I have 2 Bibles, 2 verses, and each of them have a different word. I said, okay, I'll help you. What is it? He goes, well, one word in English, in one Bible, says grace. In the same scripture, in another Bible, a different version, it says favor. I want to know, what did God really say in the original language? Is it favor or is it grace? I said, hold on, let me get my Hebrew Bible. I got my Hebrew Bible, we found out what it was, and he goes, thank you. Now I know the word that I'm going to use, no matter what it says in this Bible. Because the original said that. That is why I'm here today. That is how this whole thing for me, that's how it started. That's how I knew that I need to pay attention to some translations, and that's when I knew my calling was to teach people how to decipher the correct explanation, how to decipher the correct translation. So, it does not say that the staff turned into a snake in the Bible. Okay? It does not say snake. Sorry. All right.
So how do you know you have, are there better translations than others, or?
The best translation I have found, and Dr. Ben Gigi of the Hebrew Department of Arizona State University agrees with me. We talk on the phone all the time. The best translation thus far is the New King James.
But I'm talking about in the Hebrew Bible.
There's only one.
There's only one.
No-
So if you purchased a Bible or a Tanakh written in Hebrew, you don't have to worry about what Hebrew word was used. It's just one.
There's one
Okay.
Hebrew ever.
Ever, okay.
The Bible that they printed yesterday to sell to the public
Yeah.
is the identical language, no nikud,
Uh-huh.
because the original had no nikud. No nikud, but every word, every jot and tittle are identical as the Bible that was printed 5,000 years ago.
Okay.
Never a change. Not one jot, nor tittle, ever changed. That's why it's just so wonderful when I see this additional stuff they put in. But yeah, several of us who are in the Hebrew business, we know the New King James, although not perfect, has mistakes, it's still the closest to being correct. I found, I'm not going to say many, but a considerable amount of mistakes even in the concordance.
Is that right? Have you ever seen a translation that did say crocodile instead of,
No,
no?
no. In English?
Yeah.
No. No. In Arabic, I once saw a Bible in Arabic that said crocodile just like, sorry, it wasn't Arabic, it was Aramaic. And I don't know how many of you know, but Aramaic is Hebrew. And the way I could explain why do they call it, why is it a different language? First of all, Aramaic itself does not have an alphabet. The alphabet to write in Aramaic is this. This is the alphabet that Aramaic uses. They're interchanged and they are different words, but they use Hebrew letters. Just like Spanish uses English letters to write Spanish. As far as I know, only Russian has some letters that are backwards. Although I think maybe Spanish has a couple. I know there's an upside down question mark in one of those languages. But those are the differences that I know of. But
What was Jesus speaking in the movie called The Passion by
Aramaic and Hebrew.
Yeah.
Aramaic and Hebrew, yeah.
So that was a combination of Aramaic and Hebrew?
90% Aramaic.
Okay.
There were some words that don't appear in Aramaic, so the Aramaic language uses the Hebrew word.
So the Ethiopian Aramaic today is pretty close to what Jesus was speaking.
They speak the cleanest, most accurate of today as of yesterday.
Okay.
And the Ammonites. And many Israelis also. A lot of rabbis, a lot of yeshiva boys that learn, they wanted to learn the Assyrian way, and they don't change anything.
That's
Yeah.
good.
So, the Aramaic and the difference between Aramaic and Hebrew is this. There are countries where school's not available. Or if it is, they can't afford it. They don't go to school. There are countries that the majority of people are not schooled, but they speak the language because they learn it from their parents, from their peers, from the streets. The example that I like to give, because it's the easiest example to understand, is Cuban. Okay? Many Cubans in the days of Cuba, even though they have a great university, the University of Havana is a very highly accredited school worldwide. Even given with that, the education in Cuba is extremely flawed. Hardly anybody gets education, but they speak Spanish. But they speak the lowest Spanish. It's like, it's like 2 2 feet below where the ants walk. That's how deep down under the Cuban language is. But it is of Spanish derivative. Here's the example. They learn it from one another on the streets. Just like Ebonics in the ghettos of New York. They go, yo, what you do? Hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Hey, what up? Okay, it's a language, it's in English, but is it a school thing? Is it a schooled language? No, it's a dirty language. That is what Aramaic is to Hebrew.
Oh.
The people that begun to speak in Aramaic attempted to speak Hebrew, but without the schooling, they didn't know the A before U and the G after A. They didn't know any of that. They didn't even know syntax. They hardly knew how to pronounce. So for example, the best example I can give you is that in dirty Spanish, you'll hear people say, yo, ¿cómo se llama? Okay? ¿Cómo se llama is what's your name? It is not a clean language, because in pure Castilian from Spain, Spanish, to ask what your name is, they'll say, por favor, ¿cuál es su nombre? Please, what's your name? ¿Cuál es su nombre? Is not, yo, ¿cómo se llama? That is what Aramaic and Hebrew, that's how the Aramaic and Hebrew is. So, you ask me, what did Jesus speak? We don't know what part of the country he was when he spoke. Over there he spoke Aramaic, over there he spoke Hebrew, over there he spoke Latin. Because Jesus, as we all know, here as believers, he invented all the languages. He spoke all the languages. He was the Word. He is the Word. Okay? So, what did he speak here and there? We don't know. We assume. Okay, and because we have some time, I can put this away. I want to tell you one other thing that's huge when I first found out. You know where it says that it's easier for a rich man to give his riches away than it is for a camel to come through an eye of a needle? Okay. We know Jesus is not a dummy. We know he spoke a lot in parables. But Jesus never gave us a parable that was ridiculous. So think about a camel going through an eye of a needle. Why would Jesus give us such a stupid parable? A camel is 4 tons. How can a 4-ton animal go through an eye of a needle? It's a ridiculous parable.
They can't.
It's impossible. Why even make that parable? Well, here's why. Okay. Yes, there is one of the gates in Jerusalem that's called the Eye of the Needle, because it's the narrowest of all the other gates in and out of Jerusalem. But that was blocked in the 1st century, or in the time of when the Second Temple was built. The Eye of the Needle gate was blocked completely by the Romans. They didn't want anybody going in and out in that area because they were short of guards in that area. They just blocked off that, so no one could come through the Eye of the Needle. That parable was made after. Okay, but here's what the parable, what that whole schmear means. In Aramaic, the word camel is a thick string. In Hebrew, the word camel is camel. The word is gamal. Gamal in Hebrew and Arabic, both languages, means a camel. But in Aramaic, gamal means thick string. So I question you. What language did Jesus speak when he made that parable?
Aramaic.
I'm going to say I believe it was Aramaic. Because for Jesus to say it's easier for a rich man, it's harder for a rich man to give away his riches than for a thick string to go through a thin needle, makes sense. It's not dumb. It's not stupid. And Jesus never made stupid parables. So that parable would fit perfectly. Yes, it's hard to put a thick string through an eye of a needle, but it is possible. And it's hard for a rich man to give away his riches, but some did.
Yeah.
So it's not a dumb, stupid
It
parable.
would have to be possible, because it is possible.
Okay, so that's my point. So what did Jesus speak when he made this or that or the other parable or example? We don't really know, but a good guess would be that when he said, it's easier to do this and that and a thick string and this and that, it's easier to understand what his meaning was. But what is his meaning when you talk about a rich man and then you talk about a 6-ton animal going through an eye of a tiny little pin?
Mm-hmm.
That is just so ridiculous, it doesn't even belong in that same language. And so that is what I mean when I say there's a lot of the unknown when it comes to Hebraic. And that's why there are volumes written about the letters and the words. Even though Hebrew is a relatively ancient language, but revised so that the entire population can speak. Because in biblical days, Hebrew was the spoken language, but many did not speak it correctly. Full of errors, street language, yo, ¿cómo se llama? They made up words. There are words that they made up because they didn't know the correct word. And so that's my point about the translations. A lot of translations are not accurate because, and another one last thing is this. When the Christian arena begun to be very interested in Hebrew, and righteously so, no pun intended, it's great that everybody wanted to learn. They did not have a good relationship with Jews. So they did not go to the Jews for translations. They went to Christians who were very smart, very educated, very collegiate, and learned Hebrew and knew Hebrew, and that's who they went to. But if you're not born into Hebrew, you may know the letters, you may know how to read, but there's so much you don't know, because there's not enough time in one lifetime to know all the little nuances and little factoids about Hebrew. If you're not born in it, you can learn the language, but you can't learn the entire, you can't learn, it's like I laugh when people say, well, that guy over there, well, he converted, he's Jewish now. I'm sorry. It's not just the blood. It's not just that if you have Jewish blood, you're Jewish, and if you don't have Jewish blood, you can say, yeah, I converted to Judaism, but yeah, you're never going to be Jewish.
You can take the kid out of the city, but you can't get the city out.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a great analogy.
I have a very important
Great
question.
analogy.
That may be very easy for you to answer, maybe challenging.
I'm elated to hear it.
All right, so it's, let's talk about the name of the Lord that largely I understand it as, in the original Hebrew, as the consonants Y-H-W-H. Okay.
That's correct.
Many translations have changed those consonants to something other than those, using those consonants, like using J. Some
No.
people...
Let me stop you there. The J has to do with translation.
Right. So,
Jehovah is Yehovah in Hebrew, Jehovah in English.
right. So I want to get to my point. The scripture says that all that call on the name of the Lord, okay, not the title, not
Right,
Christ,
right.
Messiah,
Right?
Father. It's the name of the Lord. So I find it very,
Page 68 while he's talking.
Right.
Page 68.
very important from a theological standpoint as to what vowels may be put in there, and the tetragrammaton or whatever it's called. The reasoning was that the scribes felt it was so holy not even to even write, his actual name.
That's correct. They
into the
used
scripture.
other, right.
Right. However, we're to know his name. It's an important thing. So I find it.
I'm listening.
It's something that I think needs an answer for everyone as to what vowels would be.
Page 68 has the vowels.
Thank you.
And here, and I'm going to give you a little additional commentary, and that'll kind of bring us to the end, I think. I just need a little space over here. Okay.
And part of my take simply is this: if my name is George,
Right?
and I'm an American,
Yeah?
even though if I'm in Germany and they would pronounce it Georg, my name is George.
Right.
So let's say I'm Yeshua, okay?
Yeah?
My name's Yeshua, it's not Jesus, because this is my name. It's Hebrew, not English, It's a Hebrew name,
Right.
so call me by my name, it's Yeshua.
Correct. Well, that's a way to look at it. Another way to look at it is a guy named George, who's from New York, moves to Israel. Well, Israel doesn't have a J. Oh, I'm sorry, I insist. My passport says George. I don't want to hear stories. I'm here now in Israel. I became a citizen. I'm now Israeli. My name is George. I want you to make my name George. Sorry, sir, we don't have a J sound in Hebrew. So the best we could do is we could take a gimel, because we don't have anything like a G or a J or a G or a J. We don't have it. We just don't have it. We're not going to make one just for you. There's never been one. There isn't one now. So I'm sorry, but your name in Hebrew is going to be Gorg, because you insist on George, and the nearest one to George is the Gimel. So here's your name in Hebrew. Okay? Gorg. Okay? Oh, I don't like Gorg. My name is George. I'm insisting. Don't call me Gorg. I don't care where I live. I live now in Israel, but my name is George and I don't want to change. Israel came up with an idea. Do you all know what eñas are? In Spanish, there's a little eña on top of a letter.
Yes.
So it tells you that the word pina colada is to be pronounced piña colada. So in order for us to tell you that it's not pina colada, but rather piña, we put a little eña, which says, when you read this word that says pina, the little eña at the top tells me to pronounce it nya. So there's a way to do it. Well, Hebrew invented something also. Not long ago, 35-something years ago. They do this. They give you an inya here and an inya here, and now even though it's written in Hebrew, Gorg, it's pronounced George. So that's the best you're going to get in Israel. I don't know about other countries. Okay? The same with John. We don't have a J, but we can make one by doing inyas. John. John would be John.
So-
And this is not exactly like it. It's like a little backward yud or some cute little connotation.
So do a stock mind melt with me. I'm not being
No. I take your point.
a
It comes up in every
Pharisee
class.
or legalistic, but I'm in a scene from the standpoint is that I want to know,
I'm glad to hear that.
you know.
So here it is. Here's the answer. Here's the answer. First of all, Jews sometimes can be pretty smart. And by sometime, I mean all the time. All right. Are you on the same page? Are we all on this page? Okay. The Jews say that the word Yehovah, your question is, where are the dots? How do you read? Where is the real correct nikud for Yehovah? The correct nikud for Yehovah is just what you see on top of page 68, under where it says in English, a word about the word. The next thing you see, Yehovah. You see the 8 Seirei under the Yud. You see the Cholam without a Vav next to the Vav on the top left. And then you see the Vav with the A sound, Patach, below it, and then the silent Hey. That is how it is pronounced in the most ancient Bible you could find, which would be the same as the Bible of yesterday. And these are the nikud that you'll find in that Bible. Yehovah.
So the scribes way back when basically.
This is how they wrote it. Yehovah. Now, very ancient Bibles, I don't know how much printing was done in 5,000 years ago. I think there was no printing then, or one page at a time with one letter at a time. I don't know what printing was available, but that is how it was printed. However, I have to take that back because there was no Nikud in those days. Nikud came in the 3rd, 4th century. But the pronunciation is steadfast. It has always been Yehovah. Yehovah. Now, some scribes thought it was so sacred to use the Lord's name that they said Yeya. Yeya. that became the name of Jehovah without saying or writing the word that's so sacred, they don't want to say it or write it, so they said yeah. Someone else came in a couple of hundred years later and said, no, yeah, that's an affrontation to take the Lord's name and change it around like that and say yeah. It's not correct. Let's take that completely out, and they did. No longer did you see yeah. You hear it nowadays, but you never see it in writing. Instead, you see these others. You either see my Lord, or the name, or Elohim. So Jews that have a Bible that spells out Jehovah, when their eyes feast on the word Jehovah, their mouth says something else. Never says that word Jehovah. They see it because it's there, but they will not pronounce it. That came from that they are so fanatic. And Jews have this thing that when they have something that they like, they're so fanatical about it that forget even talking about it, because it's not going to be. It goes in here and it just goes straight out. They don't even register it in their brain. They're so adamant about something. They're adamant about never to use the Lord's name in vain. So they got very smart. They said, oh, we have a way that we will never use the Lord's name in vain. We'll never pronounce that name. If you don't pronounce the name of the Lord, you'll never mispronounce it. You'll never use it in vain, because you'll never pronounce it. So when they see the word Jehovah, they say, my Lord. They say God. They say the name. They say anything else except Jehovah.